Example using pseudocode for a login feature. First implementation using the quick exit approach. If user doesn't exist, then return some error. Otherwise, get the password and hash it. Check if the credentials exist and are valid in some kind of store. If not, then also throw an error. It can be clearly seen that if the user doesn't exist, the application throws an error. Otherwise, when the user exists and the password, okay, if the password doesn't exist, it is apparent that there will be more processing before the application errors out. Application, or just application needs to do more processing before it errors out. In return, the response time will be different for the same error, allowing the attacker to differentiate between the wrong username and the wrong password. Depending on the if branch, this request might take different amount of time. Attacker can tell a wrong username from a wrong password. Second implementation without relying on the quick exit. We get the password, we hash it, we check the credentials. So this is basically just this internal part. This code will go through the same process no matter what the user or the password is, allowing the application to return in approximately the same response time. App always goes through the same process, I guess. Application always returns in more or less the same time. Always responds in more or less the same time. The problem with returning a generic error message for the user is the user experience matter. A legitimate user might feel confused with the generic messages, thus making it hard for them to use the application, and might, after several retries, leave the application because of its complexity. Returning a generic error for the user is a user experience matter. A legitimate user might feel confused. Really? A legitimate user? Okay. Let's just go with a user. Might be confused by it. Okay, if the user is confused, probably it is harder for him to use the application. After several retries, he might leave the application too hard to use. The decision to return a generic error message can be determined based on the criticality of the application and its data. Whether you return a generic error message or not depends on how critical the app data is. For example, for critical applications, the team can decide in case of an error, the failure, in the failure scenario, a user is always redirected to the support page and a generic message will be returned. Regarding the user enumeration itself, protection against brute force attacks are also effective because they prevent an attacker from applying the enumeration at scale. Usage of CAPTCHA can be applied on a feature for which a generic error message cannot be returned. Use CAPTCHA where a generic error message is not enough. Regarding the user enumeration itself, brute force protection helps with, or brute force protection also helps against user enumeration attacker cannot apply enumerated scale. Let's just say that. Use CAPTCHA where a generic error message is not enough. Okay. Yeah, let's leave it here. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment, like, maybe even subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.